welcome back to Fee's Barbecue, episode number 8. We're going to be smoking some prime rib steaks tomorrow night on the Weber kettle. And I've just started to do my dry marinade this evening, so come on over here and I'll show you how to do that. So here we have 2 prime rib steaks. They're approximately 1 3/4 inches thick, and I've generously applied salt, pepper, and garlic powder to both sides. We're gonna put them in this pan and put them in the fridge overnight, completely unwrapped. That way the cold air can hit the steaks and they can start to sweat. And as they sweat, they will suck all the seasoning back down into the meat. Let's throw these babies in the fridge. So I just put the steaks in the fridge. Let's check back in 24 hours. And I just pulled them out about an hour ago. You want to make sure you pull any meat that you've been marinating out of the fridge within an hour before throwing it on the grill. Allow it to come up to room temperature. You never want to put cold meat on a hot grill. It just throws the cook rate off. We're also doing baked potato at the same time. These are going to take about an hour longer than these, so these can stay inside, and we'll go throw these on the barbecue once it's lit. All right, let's go. Now for everybody's favorite part about owning a Weber kettle. We got our coals in, our lid on. We're gonna wait till we see about 350 to 400 degrees, and then we'll throw our taters on. So we've hit 350 degrees. Let's pull our lid, we'll throw our potatoes right on the far side, just so they're not directly over the coals. They won't be burned that way. Just like your oven, put the lid back on, and now we wait. So our potatoes are done. I've pulled them off the grill. Let's do the steaks. We're gonna throw some hickory chunks on top of the hot coals, right down inside on the top. We'll just leave the lid open to let the fire come up and start burning those pieces of wood. Always put the bone towards the heat, just it can take a little bit more heat than the rest of the meat can. Throw that on there, this on here. Let those blocks catch fire before we smother it, and we'll start smoking. Okay, now that our blocks are starting to catch, let's smother it out. Not completely, just to start the smoke. My bottom vents are open about halfway, and I'm gonna put this top vent at about half, and we'll see what temperature that gives us. So when I like doing steaks, I like using one of these instant read thermometers. That way the meat doesn't have a giant probe into the meat through the whole cook. So what I like to do with steaks is I always pull off the grill 10 degrees less than my desired, because when you rest it, it'll come up that 10 degrees, which means for medium rare, I'm gonna be pulling at 135, and it's gonna come up to 145 inside as resting, which is medium, which is what we're aiming for. So normal people cook steaks at about 350 degrees, and right now we're rocking about 275. So just by judging by the look of the steak, you can know when it's time to flip. That's looking pretty good right there. Give that a flip. And because they've been salted down, they are really tender when you flip them over, so there's a chance of them breaking apart. So just take it easy on that. We'll toss the lid back down. Okay, it's time to do our reverse sear. Right over top of your coals. So I just pulled the wood chunk out just to give me some more room, but this is just the hickory block that was burning earlier. Get all that fat on the outside to caramelize and crisp up. Give her a flip. You're gonna get some flare up here, but you're fine. If it gets too out of control, you can always move it back over to the cool side, and then it'll calm right down. Okay, now we'll just pull it over, set it on the cooling rack. Let's get this baby on there. Let it sit right over top of that fire. You want the most heat you can get during this reverse sear process. Okay, pull this one. So now that we've brought our steaks inside, we're gonna let them rest on this wire rack for about 10 minutes. It'll allow all those juices pooling on the surface to be sucked back in, and we'll do a cut. Okay, we've waited our 10 minutes. Let's take a cut. Okay, here's our finished product. Totally juicy. Fat's all yellow, smoke filled. Let's eat. And here's our finished product. A perfectly cooked medium rare prime rib steak and a loaded baked potato. Enjoy. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Fee's Barbecue. We'll see you next time.